What is going on, guys? So there's no one really here yet, so sit tight while I do some stuff. It has just been a crazy last 2 weeks, hasn't it? Oh man. So apparently YouTube doesn't like non-official channels talking about the siphon filter virus going around right now. So if you hear me talk about the siphon filter virus, I am talking about the real world one that apparently they're going to flag and, what have you. So yeah, hope everything's going good with you guys. It's just been a really crazy 2 weeks with the siphon filter virus fears and stuff going on. I was at work on Friday, and now normally on a Friday, some people are already working from home just because they have kids to worry about and things like that. But in an office that usually has about 21 people, there was only 7 of us, and it was the most creepiest thing I've ever experienced in an office. Like, you could hear a pin drop. And what's funny is of the 7 of us, 4 of the 7 were like in the same cubicle. So it was like, if this was the room, it was us and then 2 people in their offices, and that was it. And it was crazy. Hey, what's up, Demon? C-Virus, yes, completely. Anki, welcome in. That's so weird. Like, it doesn't say there's anyone here. That's weird. How are you guys doing? I'm just kind of chilling, waiting for people to show up right now. But yeah, so with let me close my little chat room window here. So yeah, so right now, right before I jumped onto this stream, I was talking with one of my coworkers, and even she was like, "Do you think we'll get an email saying we should all stay home?" Yada yada yada. And it's weird because with the siphon filter, C-Virus, Cyrus the virus, whatever you want to call it, and I'm doing something bad, I shouldn't be touching my face, but my eye is itching and I need to scratch it. If we were going to get emails to say that we should work from home, and I don't know, like I would much prefer to actually go into work and be at my work desk taking care of things. But I do have the option to work from home thanks to whatever programs. But I don't know. I don't want to stay home. Like I hate working from home, not because I'd be distracted or anything, but usually my internet connection sucks. Like I'm expecting this stream to at least die twice. Knock on wood. So we'll see. But it is what it is. Welcome Cloud 121. Dylan, what is going on, dude? Nothing makes me sadder than when the agents lost his bladder on the airplane. Nice. Very nice. I haven't seen that movie in years. We did make the joke at work right before leaving that, like, as we all exit the building, we're all gonna do the Nicolas Cage slow hair in the wind thing. What was interesting is I didn't post this to the Game Rave stuff, but it's my personal Facebook. Just for laughs, I actually ended up going to a Jewel. If you're not in the Midwest, Jewel is a grocery store chain, to see all the hilarity with the toilet paper and stuff going on. And there were sections of the store that were just destroyed that I wasn't expecting. Like it never occurred to me that, like, if one thing was missing, the other thing should be missing. And I took this photo of the pasta aisle, and like literally no pasta boxes at all except for the wheat-based ones, and not vegan. It was some sort of like organic noodle or whatever. Those were the only ones left, and the entire wall was just gone. But then you look over and like only half the pasta sauce is missing. So I'm like, do people prefer Alfredo sauce? Like, what's going on? I saw one woman that had a cart as she was checking out that she had like at least 3 to 4 dozen eggs with her, and those things expire in like a week. So I don't know if she's just making the world's biggest omelet, or if the coronavirus doesn't get her, like cholesterol will. So who knows? I was just doing my regular shopping, see what was going on. It's bad when you're walking into the grocery store and if someone's leaving, they turn to you and they literally just said, "Good luck." I was like, oh, this is going to be fun. But yeah, me and the missus are just home doing our normal thing. What's funny is I am, and Becky to a degree too, we're both homebodies. Like, I mean, we do hang out with people and are social, but like not every day. So like if technically this is day 2 or 3 of like the self-implied quarantine, there's nothing been different. I've just been playing games, throwing pages on the website. It's all good. So clearly I am definitely well prepared for this self-quarantine. But yeah, we'll see how that goes. I said, how are you guys handling the quarantine? Like I don't know where all of you guys are. Anki, I think you're outside the U.S. if I'm not mistaken. I've just been seeing some crazy news stories and all that good stuff. Oh man, I would say while we're waiting for the responses, some interesting little site news. I actually have we're within 25, give or take, 25 different 25 different. We're within 25 games of hitting the 600 game mark on GameRave.com for PlayStation games, which means once we hit 642, we'll officially be at the halfway point of getting all the games on site. And I cannot wait for that to happen, because that means once it's done, the only thing I'd have to add are new incoming variants and then the demos and the lightspan. But that means I'll actually have more time to actually research and play the games and so forth. Like when you have to get 15 games up on site within 2 days before the Living History Project hits, you don't have times to play games and everything. So I'm really looking forward to that. What's nice is once I get past, I want to say 2001. I think it's 2001 is when the last game that qualified for greatest hits was released. So after that, the amount of variants that I have to worry about also scanning in besides the actual games will drop significantly. So that's another happy milestone marker. Anki's in, oh, I know you're in Sweden. Nice. We've had our first death. Oh, it's so sad. Yeah. All the news reports in America are saying that America is actually a week behind Italy, but following the same slope. So I think right now we're in the middle of the everyone should start getting it as far as the what do you call that? Not compatibility, the not containment. This is why I write scripts. Where everyone will be getting it now, but then like the actual, if any death tolls will be happening probably in a week from now. So it's going to get kind of interesting. Nice. Cabby's got the bottled water going. Dimension Gamer, what's going on, sir? Welcome to the quarantine. We are under siphon filter, lock and key. It's all good. Also, to give you guys, if you guys do follow on social media, if you remember the original photo of my game wall, to show you, give me an idea of just how fucked up variant collecting has gotten. In the original photo of my gaming shelf, and let's see if I can point. Yeah, okay. So as you can see right here, the long boxes start. The long boxes originally started on that one at the very first. So technically, all this whole 3 segments right here should have been long boxes. But I've literally gotten so many variants that I had to take all the Neo Geo CDs off, all the 3-pack, 2-packs, etc., move those to a shelf behind us, and then move all those down. And now, like, literally from here to there, that's how many new variants I've bought since taking that photo a couple of years ago. And it's only going to get worse. There is a variant, actually, with how little you guys are, I can finally talk about this. I mentioned this earlier, and I didn't want to bring it up because I don't want people buying them so I can get to them. A little bit greedy, I apologize. But there's a crazy new variant that is being tracked from a manufacturing standpoint. Let me get a good example. All right, so if you want to have a great reason not to collect PlayStation variants, here's Tokyo Highway Battle. Same game, same case, everything. However, when you go to open up the game, and let me get this nice and straight. Oh, they're done. Cool. All right. But when you get to the game inside, notice the difference? These are what are called ring hub variants, dubbed by yours truly. And I'm almost positive. Let me double check here. Now this may change based on the game, but I'm almost positive it's what it is. And I apologize for the bright light. 50. That's too small. And the going theory about these hub variants is that basically each one is coming from a different manufacturing plant. If you take out a place, actually, if you take out any CD-based game, if you look on the bottom, I don't know how well this is going to show. Yeah, okay. See that number right there? That is an IFPI number, and what that is it tells you what plant, manufacturing plant it came from, and what batch it was a part of. I used that information when I was doing the Mortal Kombat trilogy variant hunting, trying to figure out like if there really was, you know, a 0.1 version, 0.2 version, etc. And Sony themselves had two main production plants. One is IFPI 50 and one is FPI 51. And I forgot to write it down, but they're basically two manufacturing plants wherever they are. And I haven't yet sat down and cataloged all the hub variations, but I'm almost positive that like the single ring one and the double ring one are each from one of those two plants. So the next step up to try and research these guys, besides buying them all, is to figure out if all the one rings came from, you know, one plant, and same with the two rings. And if that's true, figure out if they were because they were being reprinted or if they were two prints at the same time that would have been used to be distributed to different parts of the country. So in reality, at the time, 20 years ago, literally day one, there was already a variant out for some of these games. Now, what's interesting with the ring hub variants is that they go all the way, or they stop sometime, I want to say in 1999, question mark? I can't remember what the last game was that had it. But they actually potentially go all the way back to launch era. My only assumption is the reason they suddenly stop at a certain time frame is because Sony might have moved that manufacturing plant to manufacturing the original CD-based PlayStation 2 games. You eventually do start to see one or two of these pop up every so often. I know like Crash Bandicoot Warped had a different style of variant where instead of it being a one ring and a two ring, it was a one ring and then what I call the working designs style variant where it's the artwork goes across the entire disc. There's no rings or hub difference. But that's actually the current big project as far as variant hunting goes, along with two other ones. But those ones I need to hold back on and do more research before I can comment on them. One of them, like the ring hub variant alone, could potentially make me have to rebuy every game within a 3-year span, and I'm just going to kill myself. But we'll get there. Let's check on chat. I think my copy is that violet disc. Yeah, they're both like purple violet. The only real difference was the ring, unless talking about the actual ring being violet, which that's what I meant. The real hard part about I need to talk to the camera, not you guys. The real hard part about this ring variant. What game was I looking at the other day? Oh yeah, hang on a sec, guys. Virtual pool. So with the ring hub variant, the hard part in trying to research this is that because Sony wasn't consistent in what type of discs they used, there's a specific set of games. And this is going to be really hard to see, so bear with me. Okay, so this is Virtual Pool 1. Virtual Pool 1 has what looks like just a black center. It doesn't look like anything. It doesn't look like a hub variant, etc. However, if you grab this other copy of Virtual Pool, and this is going to be viewable. Let's see. Oh yeah, sure. Okay. So if you look at this one, it almost looks like the exact same thing, except now, oh, that worked perfectly. You can clearly see that smaller circle in the middle. When you bring up the other one, you can see that there's no other ring. And in trying to research these variant hub differences, I have never been so angry at eBay sellers in my life because with the way the discs are photographed, like with a standard phone camera, either the reflections or the blurriness of the photo makes it really, really hard to see that ring. And I've already had about 3 auctions that I basically just, I mean, they weren't that much. I think it's like $5 to $10 per game. It wasn't worth sending back to the seller, but it means I now have to resell them myself to make up for the mistake things. So that's what I'm currently fighting with right now, and why I hate PlayStation variant collecting. All right, let's check chat. Let's see. Cloud1, Jason, how would you go about printing out cover art? I bought Power Slave for PSX on Friday for 20 discs. Oh, there's 2 things you can do. One, obviously, there's the cover. I think it's coverproject.net ? Those people usually either do their own custom imagery, and then upload it so you can print it fine. Or if you do a search for like do a Google search for Power Slave high resolution cover, there's a bunch of people, especially if you check on archive.org, a lot of people are part of this subgroup that are basically trying to scan everything they find with 600 DPI, which is super high resolution imagery that you can then download for free and print. If you go to print it, if you have an actual Photoshop, if you have an actual photo editing program like Photoshop or I can't remember what it's called, Goop, I think, something like that, make sure that in the image settings it is listed as CYMK, which is short for cyan, magenta, cyan, yellow, magenta, and K is black. And that will give you 4-color printing process. So when you go to actually print it at a printer, it'll properly print, because if it's in RGB mode, it will only use 3 colors to print, and it's going to look a little bit off. And then as far if it's just a cover you want to print, a nice heavy cardstock, glossy cardstock would work. If you print out on normal paper, it'll look too, not wrinkly, but you'll be able to see like the slight folds in the paper. So as long as it's a high-res image printed to cardstock and CYMK, you'll be good to go. I've seen some printed inserts, like for the back insert, that used game stores that I thought was the real back until I flipped it over and you could see the little bit of the pixelization, not pixelization, like the dotness of the printer. But that should be it. Something too crazy. I know that was a great deal. Oh yeah, dude! Like the Saturn version of games is ridiculous. I brought this up in some of the reviews when talking about like what was available to buy. Like I was going for a full variant set for Sega Saturn, and I can't anymore. Like it's ridiculous. Like the one example I always go to is like, I think it's Mega Man 8 on the PlayStation is like $35, and the Saturn version is like $400 for no reason at all. All I really had left to collect were just the Working Designs variants, and then anything unknown but at the time. It would take like $3,000 to get the rest of the Working Designs variants, especially Dragon Force with an unused sticker, which has like 4 variants of the sticker alone. I was done. I'm good. Like my variant purchasing is strictly limited to just PlayStation 1 now. Like it's getting too crazy out there. What else there? This Dimension Gamer. This is a level of variant hunting that I wouldn't be able to get into myself, and you're a better man for it. You are so much a better man. Cloud 121. Probably my biggest gaming regret ever. Even bigger regret than passing up a JB. Oh. You know what? I would love to have an XI, but from reading up lately, I guess they were very, very problematic in needing repairs. Like a lot of the capacitors were going bad and leaking, like how the laser active was. But yeah, the JVC XI was so cool at the time. Although I do remember it having some compatibility issues with certain cartridges, and I can't remember which ones they are now. I was always in love with the CDX, the little guy. Like that thing was just so freaking cool until I discovered that it couldn't play the ending of Android Assault. Yeah, Android Assault, and I was like, oh, I can't see the ending of the game. I just finished 3 times in a row. And I think Jurassic Park had an issue with it. The Sega CDX was so ahead of its time, though, in far as like it essentially. I mean, there was the Nomad per se, but before but as far as like functionality goes, like the Nomad was, or the CDX essentially was the Switch of its time. Just being portable, playing all the different media, with all the games, like it was so good. What resolution should it be? Dimensions. Oh, going back to the photo print. If people are loading high res imagery, it for print wise, it should actually already be the size it's supposed to be when you go to print. I can't imagine someone uploading a higher thing. Usually, if people are uploading the artwork to print, they'll actually tell you somewhere in there how to print it. I would assume it's already print size print ready. Just make sure you don't hit the fit to size option, because as long as it's not going off the page of whatever printer you're using, if you do size to fit, it'll shrink the image a little bit, and that will fuck up your print up. So just print it as is. It's discs, game systems, and Cloud 121. If anything says Sega Saturn, it's automatically expensive as hell. Even the most common of games are around $20 complete. Ridiculous. Oh, I completely agree. Earlier in life, like years ago, people were buying up cases of the old sports games for like $1 each just to use the cases as a replacement for their other games, and now even that's not viable. I have seen a couple sellers on Amazon that have been trying to sell replacement Saturn cases, but I haven't jumped into it yet because a lot. I have seen a couple sellers on Amazon that have been trying to sell replacement Saturn cases, but I haven't jumped into it yet because a lot of. But I could really use a bit of those to help with both Saturn and the PlayStation cases. Let's see. Cloud 121. I missed my CDX. I got it for free. Oh, nice. August 20, 2007. And then had to sell it last year to help make financial ends meet. We share the same common thing as far as selling it. I ended up selling it, God, about a year ago now, to help with some bills. Funny story, my CDX, when the CDX first came out, it was $400. And a couple months later, when people realized no one was buying it, Toys R Us had it slashed for $200. And I had an incident in college, I think, where I was driving, and because of a slippery road and a blind side and blah, 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 I had a car accident and basically did a lot of damage to my car. It was still drivable, but like I think it was like $3,000 worth of repairs under the insurance and everything. And I remember, instead of going straight home to tell my parents and try and figure everything out with the insurance, I went to Toys R Us and spent $200 on a CDX just so I could calm myself down. Because that's what you do after you have a car accident. You buy game systems. It's all good. Let's see. At least Saturn games in America get those neat plastic cases. Over in England, a lot of ours just have. Yeah, Dimension Gamer. You agree. You know what's interesting though? Europe or England, Europe, wherever we are, always had crazy design or case choices. Like the PlayStation 1 cases are sort of like the Japanese double CD cases, which were so cool at the time, but trying to replace them is impossible. And what sucks for the American double cases, actually twofold, the Capcom the slim single case 2 CD things, they actually open outward, not inward. And apparently the outward fold is a European only design that Sony used, because I've been trying to find replacement copies literally for a month, and the only people that have them are outside of America, and it ends up being like $3 for a single jewel case to do that correctly. So I might just buy a box of them and hope for the best. And then with like the double jewel cases in America, the empty CD slots and the empty back slot have a custom PlayStation tray, and then they didn't actually print the teeth if they didn't need it. So trying to replace those cases with generic ones is almost impossible, because you'd have to transfer the PlayStation tray out and then hope for the best and trying to find ones that don't have the teeth so they don't fuck up the instruction manual on the inside. It's just ridiculous. What else we got there? Nice. Yeah, I've got strange ways of coping. All right. We got a good crowd in here. There's about 8 of us. Nice. Let's see. Talked about the shelves overflowing. 600 sites. Oh, Polymega. If you guys haven't been following the whole Polymega saga, I still haven't been picked yet for the beta, but in researching the Twitter hashtag for Polymega and some other stuff, the first wave, they're shipping out the units at the end of March, so people get them in April. The first set of beta testers are almost exclusively Japanese Twitter accounts, and it looks like their main issue is trying to get the compatibility list updated for the Japanese PlayStation. So that would make sense. It looks like most American gamers, if we're going to be picked for the beta, won't hit until April, I think at the end of April or end of May, because the units are supposed to hit retail at Walmart's website in July. So if there's a chance I'm going to be in the Polymega beta, I won't know until probably late April, which would make sense because that'd be the rest of us American folks. For all the trouble that Polymega has had, they're at least trying to do the right thing. Just I wish they'd be a little bit more vocal about it. What is nice, though, is they have reconfirmed that there's no NDA agreement we have to sign if we get picked into the beta. So if I grab one, we're going to have a fucking throw everything at it party. I'll probably throw up polls to see what games you guys want to see on it, as far as like what's compatible, what the lag is, et cetera, et cetera. I'll probably be using the PlayStation 3D monitor for testing in here, just because it's easiest to set up and talk to you guys on here. And then my plan is to unplug it and go in the living room non-live testing and see how it is on my Sharp TV. And I think Becky, Mrs. GameRave, has a LG TV, so I'll check it out on there. We can finally play her Saturn Sailor Moon fighting game that she bought a couple months ago. So among other things, even if I don't get into the beta, I'm really, really looking forward to the Polymega, just because I absolutely adore the aesthetic of it. It looks like a modern-day TurboGrafx system, but with laser active modularness, which heartstrings. I love it. But what's going to be cool is the whole reason I got the Polymega, I'll hopefully get the Polymega, is to help with the video capture. So when I do the reviews, I'll actually play the game on the real hardware, and then for capturing, I'll probably do it on the Polymega, unless it's like an RPG. So I'll still copy it from the original hardware, just sort of to go back through hours and hours of gameplay. What is interesting with the Polymega that I found out is that besides its own its own emulator software, you'll also be able to sideload PlayStation BIOSes like you would in a normal emulator, but the save data between the two won't be compatible. So even if a game isn't compatible yet with the Polymega, if you sideload the BIOS, it should play just fine. So technically, it does have 100% compatibility with that BIOS, but we'll go from there. My main focus is going to be on Neo Geo CD because of the loading times, and Sega Saturn compatibility, just because that's probably the most important one to worry about, since Saturns are dying and people are having to modify them with the SD cards and stuff to play ROMs off of them because the lasers aren't worth repairing anymore. Let's see. Beyond the Beyond is like that. Gran Turismo, Legend of Gaia. I am so suspicious of that thing, mainly because of Saturn. Yeah, suspicious is a good word, but that's essentially why I got one, just because I know. If you guys didn't apply for it or try to get into it, when Polymega sent out the beta, I guess sweepstakes, if you will, you had to fill out this like 4-page questionnaire about stuff, and obviously my main selling point was that I had the entire library. I can test anything they want, but more importantly, I wanted to get in there so that I could, I wouldn't say support them, but like be the voice of reason, like, because like, I mean, this is against everybody out there on the internet, but like, and admittedly, as I said before, like their social handling is not the best, but like every time they make an update, like the first thing most people do is just attack them or make fun of them or like, just blah, 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 blah. I want to actually have one so we can say, look, despite all their fuck ups, like this is actually a really cool thing, or it's cool with faults, etc. Just the fact that I'll be able to play. My favorite thing about the Polymega is that it's what I call a stupid OS. It's the same name I have for my Mac. I do use emulators every so often, but I am stupid when it comes to them. Like, it is only by God's grace that I was able to set up a Raspberry Pi for me and Becky. With the Polymega, the fact that I can just put the CD in or the Hue card in and it'll copy it to the hard drive and take care of it, and I can pop it out and I'm fine, that's perfect. I don't want to deal with ISOs. I don't want to deal with ROMs. I don't want to deal with settings. Like, every so often when we're playing the Raspberry Pi, I'll accidentally hit the menu button and I don't know what the frick's going on. So that's what attracts me to the Polymega, is the simplicity of it, the idiot OS. I do gotta give them props for all the like screenshots and menus they're building and everything, which I would like to make my own if possible, but they said that's not going to be out the door just yet, probably for hacking reasons, whatever. But I really would like to actually get into the beta just so I can help clear up some foggy things that they're not talking about themselves, good or bad, like, for whatever it is. But I really would like to see Neo Geo CDs loading super fast on that thing. I do like the controllers too. Like the base unit controller looks like a sort of like a fancy Xbox controller, and as long as it's not the Ouya controller, I'm more than fine. It's all good. Dimension Gamer, I wonder how much the Polymega will affect retro game prices. It's going to be even worse than now with everyone wanting to play them. Yes and no. See, here's the thing. With the retro games, with the Polymega, you technically, because you can't sideload ROMs, I don't think, because they're doing the online store, there are ways around that. Like, and I hate to bring this up, even though there's no NDA, but like in terms of like the PlayStation, everything's CD based. So as far as I know, once you have the game and you put in the Polymega actually copies it to its hard drive. So if you pull the disc out, you can still play the game on the hard drive. You don't need the disc. So that might hurt in that people would be buying up more to stick in the Polymega, but I think it might then also have the thing, because if people are buying games just to get it on the Polymega, if not using like a billion other emulators at the time, but you might also see an up in sales because people think, hey, it's on the hard drive, I don't need this anymore, and they'll start selling their games and so forth. So there is that angle, but there's also, I forgot where I was going with this. But yeah, the fact that you don't need the game once it's in there, I don't think the Polymega is gonna affect retro game prices any more or less than the actual official mini systems did. Like, I was expecting to see Super Nintendo games go through the roof because people are like, I don't want the mini classic, I want to get the real deal, and you didn't really see that. There's actually a ton of PlayStation games. I mean, there are a select few that are like stupidly priced for no reason, but by now I would have expected there to be more expensive PlayStation 1 games, and there really isn't. And I think that's because there was never a big gap in PlayStation game availability until the PlayStation 4, because most of the big heavy hitters were available on the PlayStation 3's PSN store. I think that caused a lot of people to not go crazy buying up the actual discs, because why would you spend $250 on Adventures of Miss Trombone when you can download it for $5 on PSN and have the same gameplay and everything? So I don't think it's really going to have that big of an effect in the markets per se. It just may have an effect as far as how people look at emulation and the public access to it. As far as the getting around the side loading things, if you have access to, say, I don't know, archive.org, and a pretty good search function, like, all you'd have to do is download the ROM, burn it to a CDR, and throw it in the Polymega, and that's how you would get your ROM on there. Since you can't sideload the ROMs, you can just burn your game like as an ISO to a disk, and it'll treat it like an actual disk. So there are ways of getting what you want on that system without having to buy the actual product. So we'll see. It should be good. Cloud 121. I just import everything now. Got Japanese Chrono Trigger from Super Famicom for $5. Nice. I got English version for PSX, so I can at least play it. Say I own it on Super NES. Yeah, this is something that's been going on like ever since Nintendo and Super Nintendo days. Is the reverse markets between Japan and America is ridiculous. Like in America, sports games are a dime a dozen and sold off and blah blah blah. Where in Japan, the things we crave, the RPGs, that's their sports games. Like I have a friend Evan who runs Super Nintendo Central.com, SNES.central.com. When he had taken a trip to Japan a year or two ago, he held up these 2 plastic shrink wrap bundles that a used game store is selling. It was like literally 30 Japanese RPGs, like Final Fantasy, Chrono Trigger, you name it. And it was like 30 games for $6 American because they just had so many of those cartridges. And it's just insane. Like I'd be curious to know what Europe's flip is. Like I could see like their like rugby games and maybe the F1 games being the like dime a dozen ones, but I wouldn't be really sure on what their like in demand collectible games would be and so forth. It's a pretty interesting dynamic change. Let's see. Difference though is PSN could go offline tomorrow. My PSN version of Suikoden 2 and Trombone would be gone. Well, technically yes and no. It would probably be like the Wii version. As long as it's already downloaded, it's yours. So like even if PSN store closes, you've already owned the games. All they'd have to do is download a what would you call it, like a licensing right activator, and take care of everything. Nintendo really fucked up with theirs on the eShop, but I know like Steam a long time ago when they were first coming into light, Steam actually said, look, if we ever disappear, we'll just activate all your games permanently and you're good to go. Like, so even if we go, you still have access to all your games, and you can always just back up your drives or like, you know, burn backup copies to CDRs or DVDRs and so forth. So it's all good. The problem with the Nintendo Wii, and I actually just suffered this, is that Nintendo didn't allow the transfer of their stuff between systems. So when I had my Wii and then got my Wii U for Mass Effect 3, I transferred all the digital software to the Wii U through the license thing, which means the Wii itself then formatted and, you know, deleted everything. So everything's on my Wii U. Well, my Wii U died because the flash memory on it went bad, and Nintendo doesn't do repairs anymore, and I really don't want to pay someone $80 to $100 for a system that eventually sells for $80 to $100. But Nintendo doesn't allow the transfer of those ROMs that I bought from the eShop channel to the next system. And because for some weird reason Nintendo had this weird thing where it was like the Wii U login, Nintendo Direct login, Nintendo licensing login, something like that. Somewhere in there, my login got fucked up. So even if I could transfer it to it, I couldn't anyway. So basically, what essentially was probably about $120 of eShop downloads and their exclusive Punch-Out version are gone. Like the SD card I have is pretty much useless at this point. But aside from Punch-Out, I already owned all those games anyway, so it wouldn't matter. But yeah, as long as it's already downloaded on your system, you should be fine. I wouldn't worry about it. Let's see. Hey, Max, welcome to the chat. Hey, East New York 22, welcome to the question. Or welcome to the question. Welcome to the chat. JCW, what is going on? Hello. Oh, have we been talking for 40 minutes already? Holy crap. All right, what else is there? Talked about the Polymega. As far as like news with the site and so forth, as far as GameRaveTV goes, I do have a review for Soul of the Samurai coming up, which was a really good game. I want to do a new subset video, but I haven't figured out how I want to approach it, because the original idea for it, there's like 50 games, and I'm not talking about 50 games in a video, so we'll weed it down a little bit. I do want to do something for Posmo, because I haven't done that in a while again. I literally, as you guys know, I help redump.org with archiving stuff. I helped them with a Dreamcast demo, and it was the first time I've turned my Dreamcast on in probably 4 years, or at least whatever the last pause mode episode of the Dreamcast game was. And it felt really weird. So I might want to try and do a Dreamcast game for the next pause mode just so I can play with that again. Anki Coffee Bean, but does it mean that if I bought a game from PSN, have it not installed, that I can still download if PSN would shut down? Trick answer. So that's a two-step answer. So the question is basically, if PSN goes down, will I still be able to download the game? So with PSN up, if you bought a game and download, but they take the game off the store, I believe, and there's going to be certain cases where this is wrong, but I'm almost positive as long as you go through your download history, you should still have access to that game to re-download. I know that was a case with, was it Turtles in Time? No. There were two games on the PlayStation 3 shop where they had to remove it from anyone new buying it. But if you went through your purchase history on your account, you could re-download it just fine. It's only if the game is 100% removed from the service, or if the service is, shut down, that you're SOL. So as long as you already have it downloaded and it's good to go, you're fine. I wouldn't worry about it. Like I mentioned, I think the last Idle Chatter or one of the other old GameRave videos, when the PlayStation 4 was officially mainstream, I hooked up my PS3 on my 360 and threw every disc I had in to make sure I downloaded all the newest patches and stuff, and then went through all my actual downloadable games and just made sure they were okay with patches and everything. And as long as it's on the hard drive, it should be fine. Now, if that hard drive eventually dies on my 360, which I'm sure it will, and whenever, then you're fucked. But by that time, there will hopefully be a remaster or what have you. The only thing I'm actually worried about on my 360 or PS3 losing would be all the Mass Effect DLC. But at least PC-wise, I've got all that downloaded and archived and backed up on hard drives and so forth. So we'll see. I mean, you're damned if you do and damned if you don't. But the short answer is, as long as you already have it downloaded, you're fine. You should be okay. I know the Ouya was weird because of the way it checked things, but I think that's the only console that was screwed without being able to play stuff. I would hope that Sony and Microsoft would have ways to where once those servers shut down, you can still access your games and everything. It should be fine. East New York, what's up, man? Dude, everything's up. New variants, siphon filter viruses all over. It's all good, man. I was actually just telling people earlier about how we're trying to figure out if we're going to go into work or not, or work from home. So we'll see there. All right, now that we got a really good group, East New Yorker, Lego game, I think, had that happen. Yes, actually, that's correct. That's actually right on. I haven't heard someone talk Ouya for ages. I was one of the Kickstarters. I loved my Ouya. For what it was worth, I loved it. I actually, for what I paid for it, which I think was just $100 with the extra controller at the time, I got my money's worth out of it from just the different downloads and checking things out. I regret not buying some of the games I wanted to buy, but then I'm kind of glad I didn't, because they might not have been playable anyway. The Ouya actually was the only place you could play. What was it called? I think it was called Trigger Blade. There was this really cool side-scrolling action game that was essentially a not a speed run, but a points generator. You could do combos and score points, but it was a demo that was exclusive for Ouya, and I don't know if it came out anywhere else. And it was a really cool game. And then I tried using it as an emulator, and that just failed per previous conversations. What's this? Cloudwood 21. Always wait for the Uber version of the game. So, oh yeah. See, the problem with the Game of the Year editions is that unless everything's actually physically on the disc, you're still screwed. I was so pissed off. I think it's Horizon Zero Dawn. I was going to buy just to have everything on the disc, and it turns out it's just a download code, just like Street Fighter 5's Championship Edition is. It's just a download code, so I don't need to buy that and everything. But I do buy the Game of the Year editions. Like for Mass Effect, I'm fine, except for the DLC. But I've bought every variant, every release of Mass Effect that's ever been, so it should be fine. Kabia asks, have you checked out Subnautica? I've heard of it, but I haven't checked on it yet. I I don't even know what it's about, so I'll probably have to check that out. Yeah, I was pissed that they didn't release a like all on disc DLC for the Mass Effect games. But the problem is BioWare admitted that with Mass Effect 1 that the not Fire in the Sky, the Pinnacle Station download, I guess the original code, the programming code got corrupted or lost. So even if they were to remaster it, they'd have to figure out how to like take the old game or redo it completely. So it's just the nature of the beast at this point. All right. Yeah, Horizon's like that. It is. Like they might change it down the road. I think one of my online friends does the whole Game of the Year edition things, and I believe some game originally released with a download code, and then like the next printing they actually had the extra disc in it. So that might change. You never know. Plus, with Horizon Zero Dawn coming to PC in a couple of months, you'll be able to download everything again, and have all your nice sharp graphics and so forth. I would like that then. I would love to see a remaster of Octonauts Holiday. Like I didn't play the original too much, but I have to eventually for the review. But like that was like art themed games were so interesting, but so hard to get into. But I love the idea of just like that's why I love Treasure of the Deep so much. Just all the fishies swimming around and all the water graphics, and I'm sounding like Rob Pearson right now, but you get the idea. All right, so now that we have a good crowd here, let's get to some questions. So I posted for people to ask questions on social media. On Facebook, Randall Franks asked, what's the scariest game for PS1 in your opinion? Dragon Ball GT, because how bad it is. I kid. As far as scariest goes, having not played all of them yet, of what I have played, Silent Hill wasn't scary per se, but it did have its like little jumps here and there. Clock Tower 1 shit out of you. If you've never played Clock Tower, so there's this little midget bad guy, and he's got these huge giant Reaper scissor things like you'd use for cutting bushes and so forth. And what makes this game so panicky scared is that your control sucks, so you're kind of like stiff trying to run around and so forth. The game lets you know he's coming by just setting off this tone, and you just hear that chick 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 as he gets closer and closer. And hearing that while you're trying to figure out the controls and open a door or like do this, it was just the most amazing experience of just freaking the fuck out I've ever had in the game. And what's cool is that I didn't realize it until halfway through the game because I didn't read the instruction manual. But in Clock Tower 1, if you get into a spot and you don't know what to do, if you quickly move the cursor around, it'll sometimes change its stroke outline to, I think it was a blinking red. And if you activate that moment, you'll do this crazy like dash out of the way or kick him off a ledge and so forth and save yourself. But as far as tension goes, Clock Tower 1 is up there. Like it was so tense in some situations because you don't know what to do and you just keep hearing that sound effect. There's a scene in the game, I think about halfway through the point, where you're in what is essentially a mansion, and the way the hallways are laid out, like you can go in this door and come out the other side, but then go through this door and suddenly you're back on this side because the way everything's laid out. And you could try and escape him by going through this door and think you're safe. When you come out, he already knew where you were going and comes around the other way. It was so much fun. So I definitely say that. Let's see. Yeah, so it's the Clock Tower. Cloud 121. In the PSX version, a remake of the Super Famicom version, or is it a sequel? I forget. For Clock Tower, it's a sequel. The Super Famicom one is number 1, and then the PlayStation's number 1 is actually number 2, and our number 2 is number 3, I think. It's the Final Fantasy situation all over again. Dimension Gamer. Good call on Barrow's Mansion. Dimension Gamer, I miss slow, clunky controls like that. Sometimes Resident Evil had a similar feel. Yes, exactly. I think that's what makes the scary games that much scarier, is that they intentionally cripple your movement. I think if you could move around freely, like in today's open world games, it wouldn't be as scary just because you can dodge and weave and so forth. Juggernaut, the one I reviewed a couple months ago, that one wasn't so much scary, but it was definitely engrossing. Like the first half of the game where you're stuck doing all those stupid body warp things got kind of old. But once you got into the subdimensions, like it was really cool. Like just because of how we are in the modern world with like all the hacking and blah blah blah. When you're hacking the future world's computer mainframe, it was like the creepiest feeling you can experience in a game like that, and it really brought Juggernaut, back into the fold as far as being a good game to check out and try out and so forth. But man, that first half was rough. What else is there? Randall also asked, what's the last game to make you shed a tear? If we're talking in terms of crying, like legit as an emotional response to what's going on screen, damn near almost every game I've played in the last 6 months on PlayStation 4. Life is Strange 2 made me choke up a little bit. What Remains of Edith Finch made me cry like a baby. If you haven't played that game, it's absolutely phenomenal. It's like 2 hours long. Go check it out. It's every so often it's either super cheap or free on PlayStation Plus. I highly recommend it. What else is there? Tomb Raider didn't make me cry. There's something else. There was another like smaller game. I don't remember, but definitely What Remains of Edith Finch, and to a degree Life is Strange 2. That was just a brutal, like, oh my god. There was something else I teared up at. I don't remember what. Uncharted 4, I teared up a little bit just because of happiness. Like, if you haven't finished, I won't ruin it for you, but the game's epilogue, whatever happens after the credits, was just the most absolutely amazing way to end a game series, but still give you closure on those characters and what happened. Like, it was so awesome. Last of Us, I teared up a little bit, but for obvious reasons. As you can tell, I'm an emotional man. Like I do lose myself in the games. Probably the hardest cry I ever had was Mass Effect 3. The first run through of Mass Effect 3, after all those character developments and morale choices and everything, I cried 4 times during my first run through of Mass Effect 3. It might also not have helped that I was doing it as like a 36-hour straight marathon on vacation. But yeah, man, some of the, like, I think it took 4 playthroughs of Mass Effect 3 for me to stop actually crying at any of the things I was crying at. Oh man. Max Mallet says, Alone in the Dark, the new Nightmare is a pretty scary one too. You know what? That actually looked really cool when I was doing the 5-second project video. And I thought, did I finish that? Wait a minute. Did I finish that? I was doing, when I was still working on the possibility of a Dreamcast book, I remember playing through that for the various screenshots. I don't think I finished it, but I got pretty far in it. Yeah, I agree. That actually did have some interesting. It's the dogs in the beginning of that damn game that leap out at you in that little like not park, like garden area. Totally scary. Let's see. East New York, Papa and Yo made me tear up a bit. You know what? That game looked really interesting, and I didn't get a chance to play it. I should download that later on. Like, I really don't play my PlayStation 4 lately, just because I'm taking care of all the PlayStation 1 games and things like that. But usually I'll steer towards, like, Rob Pearson even made the joke about how he called them dad games because you can finish them in like a short amount of time. I've started to like veer towards those games because of how short, how little time I have lately. Kaiba, the old style scary games remind me of the Outlast games where all you can do is run and hide. Yeah, I would probably never play the Outlast games because I am terrible at them, and it wouldn't be good. What was that one game I played years ago? I don't remember now. Fear. Oh my god. So when I was playing through Fear 2, I think it's Fear 2. I played all 4 of them, 1, 2, 3, and their side missions on the Xbox 360, like in one long thing. I think it was Fear Effect 2. I used to have my monitor on an art table that was connected to a desk lamp, and that was all stuck into one surge protector. And there's a scene in Fear 2, I think it is, where there's this computer hacker, and you are looking at him through a window, and he is looking at a computer. And if I'm the hacker guy, he's sitting there typing, and he just looks over and just goes, "Let's see what this button does." and he presses a button, and in game, what's supposed to happen is the room goes black, I think, and whatever happens. The exact moment that fucker hit that button, in real life, there was a power surge, so all the lights in the house went out, and I was at night, and I freaked out so bad that the art desk stool I was sitting on, I fell over backwards and hurt myself. I fucking hate that moment so much in that game. It was just like, what's this button do? Like, Fear is actually a great series. I actually bought the whole Fear bundle on PC from, they have a new name now. I can't remember what it's called. They used to be called Bundle Stars, but they're under a new name now. I bought the entire PC set for like $4 years ago. I might actually, now that I have a real gaming computer, I might have to boot those up again and play them because they were phenomenal. Let's see here. College 121, big Uncharted 2 today. Finally. Uncharted 2 is probably one of my favorite ones in the series, just for the train sequence alone. Like that game was so well written. I mean, they have a lot of tropes. Like by the time you get to 4 and Lost Legacy, you can predict everything that's going to happen. But their writing is so well done. Lost Legacy probably had the best writing in the series. I was laughing my tits off playing that game. The banter between Chloe and the other girl is so good. It's so good. Let's see. Kaiba, Tales of Berseria, ending of Halo 4, Fable 2, and The Blind Prince and Lair Princess either made me sad or just weep like a baby. There are others where I have to think about it. Fable 2, I'd have to ask Becky about. She played through that. I haven't played the other ones. Halo 4, I'll get back to with a question from Anki later on. Funny that you mentioned that. I should check it out. I'll definitely remember. In fact, I'll just remember. It's all good. Cloud 121, Alma is awesome. She's actually a very sympathetic villain. Yes, she is. One of my other favorite moments as far as jump scares go, going back to Scariest games, that are on PS1, the first time you climb a ladder in Fear, and as you climb up in the camera and she's right here, screw that game. Let's see what else is there. Cloud 121, Half-Life scared me one time. I heard some alien slayers on my speakers, and I equipped my best weapon, charged around the corner, and was face to face with one of them. Yep, that'll do it for you. Oh my god, there were so many moments in the Fear games. One of my favorite effects in the Fear games is with the windows, and I don't know if I'll be able to explain it correctly, but essentially, like, you were in the room, and you're looking out the windows, and you'd see Alma go past, but then like she'd go past like the what would you call it, like the frame of the window, but then she wouldn't be on the other side, so you'd go to check there and there'd be nothing there, and then when you come back, suddenly she'd be there, like as you like. Oh my god, the programming in that game was amazing, like so good. God 121, I was screaming my head off and excited to exit the game and still screaming. Been there, done that. Been there. In fact, not so much from a scary standpoint, but as far as screaming and exiting the game, that was with Mass Effect 3 when you had to make the choice to save either the Geth or the Quarians. Because of the first time I played through it, I didn't have enough Paragon points to get the hidden, like, yell at them option. And when I realized what happened, I literally slammed my Xbox 360 off, reset, reload the game, made the other choice, watch what happened, freaked out, slammed, turned off the system, and just sat there weeping because I didn't want to lose both of them. Eventually I did, went through, and then restarted my next game plus, and realized I had the Paragon points finally, and I was just so angry. Oh man. Phone ring, stop screaming, answered, hung up phone, start screaming again. Was it the wrong call, perhaps? All right. Next questions from social on Twitter. Anki, you're up. Question number 1. What game or games have you replayed the whole game because you enjoyed them so much? What games have I replayed because I enjoyed them so much? I can't even think about this one. What could I have possibly played for 1,000+ hours alone? Yeah, literally 1,000 hours in this. About 300 in multiplayer and 700 hours alone in single player. I have probably played Mass Effect 3 at least 23 times on single player mode. Hey girl, what's going on? This is GameRave. Out the door.
Mass Effect. Mass Effect. Mass Effect.
Oh, you love it too, don't you lie. She plays more Renegade than I do. But yeah, like Mass Effect would be like totally up there. Like I've already with Mass Effect series is like the Tomb Raider series for me. Where as soon as I finish it, I literally start the game plus mode right then and there and go through it again. I did the same thing with Horizon Zero Dawn. Horizon Zero Dawn, I had already maxed out the stats before the DLC came out. So when but the way Horizon works is it kept track of what you had. When the DLC came out, I was so overpowered, it automatically just maxed out the stats in the DLC. So I had nothing else to do except go hunt monsters. I actually am a huge game replayer. I've probably played all three Tomb Raider, well, not all three reboots, but the reboot series of Tomb Raider. I've probably played all three of them at least 3 times already. In fact, part 1 I probably played 4 times because I've done it on the PS4. I did on the Mac. I'll probably do on the PC, and then I replayed the PS4 remake while I was waiting for Shadow of the Tomb Raider. So yeah, at least 4 times. Horizon Zero Dawn I went through twice. Oh God, what else is there? Like, especially the modern era games. As long as it's easy to jump back into and you get the Game Plus to keep all your stuff, I'll replay it. Like Soul Samurai, the PlayStation 1 game I'm doing for the next review episode. It's got the Resident Evil trick where you play the guy and then you play the girl, and once the game confirms you've got both playthroughs, you get the true end boss fight and then the thing. That game is so short and enjoyable. I've literally played through it 7 times. So guy, girl, third playthrough just to confirm if anything changed, and then guy again to see if a certain thing changed in the stats, and then I played guy and girl again to get all the B-roll for GameRaveTV. I love replaying games. Like back in the day, when PlayStation 1 was still the master main system in the retail sphere. I used to have a tradition where every year I would replay Final Fantasy 1 on the NES and max out the stats at level 50 so I could then go beat the boss in one punch again. And then one year I changed it to the PlayStation 1's remake version, and the loading time just killed that. And I never really went back to the NES, but I should pick that up again. But yeah, like Mass Effect, I replayed so much, not even for the major choice changes, but just to see what little things changed. There was a moment in, I think it's 2, where I was replaying the game, and as far as I knew, I had been making all the same choices just because I wanted to go through it again to get more money for the weapon buying. And even though I did everything exactly the same, something Joker says in the cockpit to Shepard changed. And that was the only sentence that changed my entire playthrough. And I thought I had made all the same choices. So the fact that even those little things can change, and me being a variant hunter, it makes replaying those games so easy to do just because of like any of the little smallest things that can change. Let's take a look in chat here. Cloud 121, Tomb Raider 2013 for me. Dimension Gamer, you hate those Mass Effect games, right? No, I love them. In fact, I love Andromeda. For as much as people shit on Mass Effect Andromeda has the better gameplay as far as customization goes, because you can make yourself a god in that game. Like, you can do ridiculous things. But Trilogy definitely had the better story and the better character interactions. Although in Andromeda, Suvi and Femme Ryder are like the most adorable relationship I have ever experienced in a video game, and they are canon for me. Like, it's just, Suvi is so freaking adorable, it's ridiculous. East New Yorker, Metal Gear Solid 4 countless times? Really? Actually, that will come up in another area too. Anki, you need to play the Mass Effect games. I'll tell you this. If you've never played the Mass Effect series, Mass Effect 1 is a role-playing game with shooter elements, and it can be really rough in the first 3 hours just because of how much dialogue you can go through and how much exploration you can do. 2 and 3 are shooters with RPG elements, so they're a lot easier to jump into and get into. If you download is it called the Genesis comic? If you download a digital comic for Mass Effect 2, you can basically just grab the main choices in the comic and it'll transfer over into Mass Effect 2, but you do lose out a lot in the little things. And BioWare was a dick because if you don't actually play through the games, most of the choices that are now automatically made for you are almost all Renegade, and you're basically asshole Shepard the entire time. It kind of sucks. But I cannot recommend the entire series enough. Like, I love all the Mass Effect games. Let's see here. Cloud 121. If you could speed runs Resident Evil 4 over 20 times on game. Oh, Jesus. You know what? I've never been into speed running. I don't know if I've ever tried it just because I like. That would sound too asshole-ish. Like, I like enjoying the games, but like my problem is that I suck at video games. I mean, like literally, like it's by God's honest grace that I can finish the Mass Effect games and Tomb Raider games. But I've never been able to get into speedrunning because I don't know. I can't get into it. Even Soul of the Samurai, the fact that you can like skip all the fights if your sword is sheathed. I think that's how you say it, sheathed. You can probably beat the game in 20 minutes, but like I don't know. I could never get into it. Let's see. Kaguya. Based on replay games. Evil Within 1. Oh, Halo 3. Nice. Dimension Gamer. Pokemon Red and Blue I've played through at least 30 times. Pika. Cloud 21. Super Metroid and Piano 3 are my 2 favorite games of all time. I can't tell you how many times I played them. Super Metroid and me were like this. Like, I really, really need to replay that game, but my lack of directional sense would probably make it horrible. The first time I replayed Super Metroid was in its original era years ago, and I was at a friend's house for a sleepover, and I forced him to watch me try and speedrun it. In fact, this might actually be why I don't do speedruns anymore. He sat there and watched me play that game. I missed the speedrun ending. I think it's like 3 hours or something like that. I missed it by about 2 minutes. And he never forgave me. And I'm pretty sure that's why I don't do speedruns anymore. What else we got here in chat? Anki, for me, it's Resident Evil 4. I restarted it once after I finished it and did it after a second playthrough, but then I needed a break from it. That's understandable. Plus, in Resident Evil 4, don't you actually get more and more items as you replay it? Or am I thinking of something else? Kaiba, I'm on my 3rd play of Subnautica. Excellent. Cloud 121, I'm a Sega fan, yet my 2 favorite games of all time are Nintendo exclusives. I wonder about that sometimes. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Doesn't matter what system it's on, as long as you love a game, you freaking play it. When the PlayStation 3 and the 360 first came out, I was a very, very, I'm sure YouTube will flag this video now, but I was a very big asshole to the PlayStation 3 before it launched, because as much of a fan of the PlayStation 2 I was, when the PS3 was hitting, Sony's ego was so big. Like, it was bigger than Trump's, and it just pissed me off. So I was essentially a 360 fanboy for like the first 3 years of the PlayStation 3 life, and then eventually, I can't remember what game it was. There was finally a Sony exclusive that just called me, and I ended up, grabbing the PlayStation 3 and playing and loving it and so forth, and everything was fine. I mean, I'm a PlayStation 1 whore, but PlayStation 1 doesn't have Panzer Dragoon Saga, and I love that game to death. Ooh, I should replay that game. I haven't played that in years. Yeah, I might do that. So it's okay. Anki Coffee Bean, Broken Sword games I can replay forever. I still need to play those. Outside the few minutes I captured for the 5-second project, I need to get back to those. But like I said, that's why I'm reviewing every game, so I can finally play all these games. Let's see. East New Yorker, I did the same like you. I think I jumped right to professional. Giga Wing, welcome to the chat. I never get tired of replaying Demon Souls, getting the pure white and pure black tendencies, etc. Demon Souls and all the Souls games are games you will never see me play. If I were to stream them, it would just be 3 hours of me going, I can't do it. I've actually watched other people stream Demon Souls and Dark Souls, and it's just like I have the utmost respect for them. I couldn't do it. Anki Coffee Bean, I'm not a speedrunner. I'm more of a slow runner. Brilliant. I concur. Let's see. Next Anki question. What game or games made you quit and never tried again, and why? First up, as mentioned before, Halo 4. I was a Halo whore back in the day. Like I have the Halo 360. I have the collector's editions of Reach and 3. And then Halo 4 came around, and like I know it was the new development team at the time, the new development team's first try at it and so forth, but right from the get-go, it seemed wrong. Like it was visually beautiful, like especially on a 360 outputting HDMI to my Sharp TV. Like it looked like an Xbox One game. Like it was gorgeous. And then like for whatever reason, it wasn't clicking. Like one of the Bungie developers in, I think it was the Halo 2 behind the scenes documentary, said it in a very interesting way. And that is for a video game to be successful, you need 30 seconds of just amazing gameplay and then repeat that experience over and over and over again. And with Halo 4, like everything felt wrong. Like enemy interactions didn't seem right. And then when you got to the, I think they're called the Forerunners, the Forerunners visual style and animation styles were so different from the grunts and the brutes and what have you, that it didn't feel like a Halo game. And as I was playing it that day, like give me an idea, like I bought Halo 4 like launch day, collector's edition, everything, installed it that night, and then literally didn't play it until like 7 years later or however long it's been. And the game felt like it was dragging on and on and on. And I was like, all right, I've got to be at least like halfway through this. Let me go check the FAQ and see how much is left just so I can finish it. And when I got to the FAQ, what I thought had been at least 6 or 7 levels of progress had been 1. And I just looked at the FAQ and went, I can't do this. I'm done. And that was the last time I ever played Halo 4. I think I even uninstalled it just to make room on the hard drive. Like, I can't do it. And I haven't played a Halo game since that, and I probably will never go back because I never bought an Xbox One because there wasn't enough exclusive games on it for me to warrant it. So I think the series is pretty much dead to me. And I hate to say that because I love the original ones, but I just couldn't do it. And then Metal Gear Solid 4 is another game that I quit because, if I remember correctly, it was the fact that I couldn't stand, especially in the beginning, like it was like, all right, 1 second of gameplay, 45-minute movie. Oh, 3 seconds of gameplay, 45-minute movie. I think the last thing I remember about Metal Gear Solid 4 is I was in an abandoned building and there were fire trash cans I could use against the bad guys or something, and that was it. Like I couldn't do it. I didn't even play Metal Gear Solid 3 because I originally tried the demo for Solid 3, and I was confused for 10 minutes because I didn't realize I was supposed to crawl underneath the log. And I realized if I'm stuck on the demo, I'm not going to play it. And then I tried getting back in with 4, and it just didn't happen. I think with Metal Gear, I'm good at Metal Gear Solid 1 on the PlayStation, and we'll just keep it at that. I did play through the PlayStation 2 one, Solid 2, and I loved that, but it's over and done with for me. Like, I think once I played Mass Effect and realized my love of the variant storytelling, like the arcs, the morality choices, that killed off a lot of the games I would normally enjoy because I now love making those decisions and playing God to the characters I'm playing and so forth. Uncharted and Tomb Raider are probably one of the few like non-morality choice based games I can still enjoy and play through and love over and over again. Let's see. Gigawing. Have you gotten to collecting the 360 import 2D shmups? Truth be told, as far as collecting goes, I'm going to take a sip of water real quick. As far as collecting goes, I am done. If the system is not represented on GameRave or GameRaveTV, there's no longer collecting for it. I do have a full American Dreamcast set, but as far as 360 goes, it's whatever games I have in my library, and I might still sell some of them off. There's just too many games I still have to play on it, and I love 2D shmups. I love Raiden Project, and all the like and so forth. I love Giga Wing on the Dreamcast, but that is one of those genres of games where I suck ass. And especially on a system where I don't have access to a Game Shark to help out the lives, I wouldn't bother with it. That's another thing too, is like, especially going forward, like I love Mortal Kombat and I love Street Fighter, but like what they've done with the fighting games nowadays, with all the season passes and patches and having to buy costumes and having to buy levels and so forth, I don't need it. I can literally just go to my play. Like on the PlayStation alone, I literally have every Street Fighter available up until Alpha 3. And then on my Dreamcast, I've got the Third Strike and the other two games. I can just go back and play those all the time. Like I don't need Street Fighter 5, and I don't need Mortal Kombat 11 and so forth. As far as shooters go, I have a full set of TurboGrafx. Like I've got every shooter I could want on it. Which is bad because I know I'm missing out on a lot of good games, but I'm 43 and I've got 1,248 games to go through, and archive and screen cap and stuff. So like my gameplay choices on current gen systems is really few and far between. It's got to be a game series I adore or I know I can run through really quickly. Kaguya, my Panzer Dragoon Saga for me was a weird timing where after paying for it on eBay, I found my dog having. Oh, I am so sorry. Panzer Dragoon Saga still has one of the best game endings of all time, like top 10 easily of all time. Like it was just a great mind fuck. Mentioned gamer, Halo 3 was the only Halo that I got to the end of and said, "Is that it?" It felt super short. Yeah, it did. I remember Halo 2's abrupt ending was just like, oh, really? But I do remember 3 being pretty short. 3 at least had a really cool end level, though. Cloud 21, does anyone have an issue with their 360 when you have a game installed at HDD and after not playing it for several months, the game takes a lot longer than it normal to load? That might just be a cache issue, or it's possible that your hard drive is going bad. I haven't really noticed that. You could also just delete the install and reinstall it and see if that fixes it. Yeah, that might just be a hard drive issue. Like back in the old days, like with Windows XP and Windows 95, like if there was just too much stuff on your hard drive, like you'd have to basically refresh it, like literally blank the hard drive, then reinstall everything, and you're fine. I don't know if the 360 actually has a what would you call that? A defragment option, so that might have been what happened. It just needed a fresh reboot. Kaiba, I'm almost 31, so I have time to play up things and play. Yeah. What's funny is I'm 43 and with no kids, and I still can't. I think the problem is a lot of my time is taken up in researching the variants and getting games on site. Like once I get all those games on site, I should have so much more time to play games. And what's nice too is that the PlayStation 1 is still in the era where a lot of games were literally just action games that were maybe only 5 to 6 hours long, so I can't get them in there. Like the amount of games I've actually played through in the last month is actually fairly impressive. I'm actually playing through. I'm actually playing FIFA 96 on the PlayStation 1 right now for the next review / page to update. And I've once again discovered I just can't play sports games. I suck. I'm playing season mode, and I'm currently 0 wins, 2 losses, and a tie. I am not expecting a single win from a soccer game. Let's see. Next question from Anki. How do you nowadays pick what games you will spend your time on? I mean, there's so many games, and many games can be very time-consuming. We've covered this a little bit so far. The biggest problem and the biggest thing I go for is, one, is it I don't know why the camera just did that. One, is it a series I love? So if it's Mass Effect, Tomb Raider, Fallout, guaranteed. Two, what is the time frame? So like, I definitely won't be playing any MMOs outside of Fallout 76 because that way me and Becky can play together. But like, unless like as far as next gen consoles go, like JRPGs are done. Like I'll stick with the ones I've got on PlayStation and Saturn and so forth. Open world games, as long as it's something I know I can leave and come back to and not forget everything, I'll be fine. Like the Batman games are an excellent choice for that. As far as, and I don't know why I'm having such an itchy nose all of a sudden, I apologize. As far as new games upcoming, like literally, unless there's the Batman game going to be announced during E3's digital presentations and so forth, like I haven't bought a current gen game since Fallout 76. Well, Life is Strange not included. That was an older game. But like as far as upcoming games go, there's literally nothing I want to play. Like nothing. And that's a problem. And it's not a problem that because I have so much other stuff to play, but you know, when you own a PlayStation 4 and there's nothing you really want to play for it, and you didn't buy an Xbox One because there's no exclusives you want to play for it, and you bought a Switch for the Nintendo exclusives, but then all the Nintendo exclusives are just games you didn't really care for or already played on the Wii U, it's kind of depressing. And while I'm super excited for the PlayStation 5 and the whatever Xbox is calling their Xbox, like there's nothing I could see myself wanting. Like Mass Effect may be dead in the water for the next few years while they get their ass back together after all the Andromeda crap. And I don't know where Tomb Raider is going to go after this because they finished up the trilogy, so I don't know if there's going to be like a new developer or another reboot or what have you. So as far as what I play in the current gen, few and far between. It's got to be something I know I'll love and don't mind spending the time on when I'm away from Game Rave stuff. Other than that, it's basically going through all of my Game Rave things. What is nice is I've been dabbling in a lot of the games that I never got to begin with. Like I played through about 3 or 4 TurboGrafx games in the last 6 months. So that's been really fun. So yeah, as far as what do I pick? I pick what I can get to, and if I can't get to it, I'm okay with it. But I will tell you this: if a new Mass Effect game comes out, it doesn't matter how bad it is, everything is being shut down. I'll make sure Game Rave Living History Project is updated from 10 years out. Let's check chat. Let's see. Anki is 3 weeks from the Big 5-0. Congrats. It's all good. It's not how old you are, it's how old you are mentally, and I am permanently 13 for life. It's all good. Cloud121, sold my Orbis in January and not looked back. Latest I own is 360 and PS3. I miss my Wii U. Nothing I really want to play that I cannot get on. Exactly. Yeah. Rise of the Tomb Raider, or not right. Yeah. Is it Rise? Yeah. The middle one. Rise of the Tomb Raider on the 360 was absolutely phenomenal. Like I actually played through that one, DLC and all, and then rebought the full edition on the PS4 when it came out and replayed through the whole thing 100%. Like the 360 version of, if you guys haven't played it, the 360 version of Rise of the Tomb Raider is one of the best technical demonstrations of that system I've ever seen. Like the opening Ice Mountain stage looks real. Like it was so incredible what they were doing with that hardware. Anki, I feel like I'm getting stuck with forever games, so I don't get time for other games. You know what? In that case, you just gotta go back and play them. Like with Soul of the Samurai, it was a 2-hour game. Sweet. Usually when I'm playing nowadays, I'll play a long game and a short game at the same time. Like that month ago, I was grinding through what was it called? Dragon Slayer on the TurboGrafx. That was my long game to grind through. But then on the PS4, I was playing through Lost Legacy and Uncharted 4, which were quicker games. So as long as you have 2 games you can bounce back off of, and one is not super long and one is super long, it'll all work out. Cloud121, 33, but feel like 23. Isn't that the best feeling? Feeling young is awesome. Cool. Let's see. Next question from Anki. I like that there's remakes, remasters of old games, but if I already played the original one, I feel that I don't have time to play them because of all the other newer games, which rolls into our previous question. Yeah, I agree. The other problem with the remasters is if they're not done right, it can ruin the experience. Like I brought this up a little bit with Final Fantasy Remake. I downloaded the demo, and while visually and musically and voice-overly, that game is absolutely phenomenal. It's not Final Fantasy VII. It's just Kingdom Hearts or Devil May Cry with character selection. And I tried so. I mean, I beat the demo, and I tried so hard to like it, but like after the halfway point, I just didn't care. Like I felt bad, and it might be because it was on easy mode because I wanted to see what the classic mode was like. But everyone's like, "Oh yeah, you gotta like have this pattern and this plan to defeat the the 2-armed tank guy." And if I had been recording it, you would have seen in my playthrough of the remake demo that I literally just pressed Cloud's lips against that thing and just kept hitting the slash button and won. No strategy, no magic spells. I just kept hitting X to win. And after switching to Barrett and realizing how utterly pointless they made him without proper aiming and like, pressing X to win with his gun arm, it all fell apart for me. Like I have high hopes for the game, and I hope that the fans that have been waiting for this for 20 years enjoy it. But as someone who has been saying since the PS2 was rumored that they will never make Final Fantasy VII, my statement still stands. Final Fantasy VII will never be remade, and whatever that remake is, it's not the game we deserve. So that's another game I don't need to worry about. Oh my god, it's an hour and a half already. Let's see. Cloud 21. Instead of just shipping out graphical effects, Nix's went the next best thing and substitute help. Oh, okay. Anki, I don't like when the remaster games add things to the story and so on. I'm old-fashioned. I could like if it helps the story, I don't mind it. But if it like changes things up dramatically, then yeah, I could see that being a bad thing. Like I know in Final Fantasy VII, in order to get around a lot of the shortcomings of it being episodic, they do have to rewrite a bunch of the script. I did. One of the things of the remake demo that I absolutely adored was Jesse's flirting with Cloud. Like that was hilarious. Like that was probably one of the best things I've ever seen added to a remake game, because it helps develop those characters. And what's sad is I hadn't played Final Fantasy VII in so long, I didn't realize that was a girl in the original game. I thought it was just a guy. So that helped me at least. Let's see here. Yeah, both Kaiba and Dimension Gamer. Like I was really looking forward. Like I wasn't looking forward to it like hype train, but I was definitely curious about it. But like after playing the demo, like even as a Game of the Year edition with everything already on the disc, like I don't think I could bring myself to do it. Like I couldn't stand that control setup, and especially with the HUD, like they've got your stats over here, your results over here, but something's over here, and it was like, dude, I don't have time to look. Like I need to just fucking tell me what to do. And like when I realized I could just sit there and slash all day, like, It's not so much Final Fantasy VII Remake. It's basically Final Fantasy VII Dynasty Warriors. And, more power to everyone that wants to enjoy it, but I'll be okay with my PlayStation 1 disc. As far as unless I'm talking about the wrong character, there's a guy and a girl that are together as they're talking, and one guy always opens the door and the other girl always flirts. I thought the girl was Jessie. I don't know what the other guy's name is, but the fat guy is there too. I don't know what their names are aside from Mix and Wedge in the American version, because I actually only played the Japanese Final Fantasy VII all the way through a couple times. When the American one finally came out all those years back, I could not stand what they did to Barrett as far as the Ebonics go, and I never finished it, but now I'll have to actually play it for the full review on GameRaveTV eventually. Let's see here. Anki, question number 5. Any game you would love to get as a continuation to, like a second or third release? If you mean like an actual sequel? Mass Effect Andromeda for sure. The part of the reason Andromeda was a tough sell is because there was the tension you had in the original Mass Effect trilogy, in that you were Commander Shepard going against the will of the Council and pissing off, all your Earth commanders and so forth. That tension was gone in Andromeda because they weren't around. Like you were the Council. Like you were the only one whose choices you had to worry about. And I think that took away a lot of the intensity and decision making, thought process. And I would love to see Andromeda 2, because some of the choices you make in Andromeda 1 are incredible. Like, if you haven't played it in a non-spoiler way, one of the choices is to basically help the Krogans or permanently piss them off to where they become another rival set, like the Geth were in Mass Effect 1. And I would love to see how that dynamic plays out. Who you also choose to create the Council would also have an impact on how those dialogue options would go. So I would absolutely adore and love to see a Mass Effect Andromeda sequel. If we're talking continuations of older games that deserve them, hands down, Jumping Flash. Why that game hasn't gotten a sequel in 20 years is beyond me, especially with the VR and just the amazing things you can do with graphics nowadays. God, what else is there? I would love to see Intelligent Cube be redone properly. It had sequels on the PSP and the Japanese PS2, but they were awful. They were so bad. The PS2 one was just a blurry mess, and it really, really made me depressed. God, what else is there? I'm trying to think of, like, obviously Horizon Zero Dawn, but we know a sequel's coming. Like, they wouldn't leave that to be. I'm trying to go back through my brain to, like, all my older systems and so forth. Man, that's a great question. I would love to see a sequel to Remember Me. Remember Me is done by the guys that do Life is Strange. It was on the PS3 and the 360. I got the game for 360 and then also got a code for the PS3 one. That game, although a rough start, that game had some of the most brilliant flow charts and level skills that you could unlock, and the character was interesting and the world was interesting. It was really straightforward, but like to give you an idea of how well thought out that game was, in Remember Me, you earn moves and you can create your own combos, but certain moves have certain stat abilities. Like there's one that gives you more health if you properly connect a combo. There's one that I think did like double damage on a counter. And there's a boss near the end of the game who can kill you, and I think one shot. No, wait. No, I think he poisons you. And if he poisons you, you die. And what you have to figure out is you have to set up your combo chain so that the healing factor is on the doubler. So as you're punching him, you're re-healing yourself from his poison. And it's basically this war of attrition until you finally beat him and the poison goes away. Once I realized that, and that fight, like that, my respect for that game shot through the roof. Like, it was so well done. And now that I think about it, I think I'm going to actually replay it because I think I still have either things to unlock, like collectibles, or I was actually thinking about going for the trophies in that one. Like, Remember Me is a phenomenal game if you can track it out. It's super cheap now, especially on the consoles. Let's see. Bender, welcome to the group. I got a really random question for you. Do you know what the Korean PS1 game labeling format stands for? It's something like SCKA? Great question. It's probably a play off of all the other ones. In America, it's SCUS and SLUS, and it's not the proper words, but it's essentially SLUS is Sony licensed US software, and SCUS is Sony corporation US software. So I'm assuming if it's SCKA, it might be Sony Computer first party games, and then maybe it might be like SLKA for the third party ones. I think in Europe it's it's SCES and SLES, so that might make sense. Dimension Gamer Vib Ribbon, yes. Vib Ribbon, that game. If you guys haven't played Vib Ribbon, grab your PS3, download it on the PlayStation Store, because you can still do this CD swap trick with the physical drive. You basically use music CDs to create these wireframe tracks that this little robot, little bunny walks along, and each button on the controller is like a different dance move. It was absolutely addictive and incredible. Coffee Bean, I still want a Godfather 3. I love the Godfather games plus Mafia 1 and 2. I've just started Mafia 3 and I'm not sure what to think of it. I heard there were mixed feelings on Mafia 3. I've actually never played any of them, just because I'm not really big into the gangster type stuff. But you're not alone in feeling that Mafia 3 is off. Let's see here. You actually know anything about it? A sequel to Warhawk, a real sequel, not an MMO or multi-massively player or whatever, an actual sequel, because especially with the water graphics and stuff and how much memory you have access to, like in the original PS1 game, you could actually fly into a cargo carrier and go inside that ship. Can you imagine in today's graphics and capabilities actually flying into the hangar bay of a battleship and just flying around doing stuff, especially with all the debris and the guys they could have running around? Oh, it'd be incredible. Yeah, Cloud agrees with me. Let's see. Next question from Anki. Have you ever been hiding that you're a gamer and that you actually enjoy playing a certain game, meaning when you were a kid? I am not very good at hiding things. I have no poker face, and I have this belief, and I don't know if this belief was around when I was a kid, but I have a belief nowadays is that you are who you are and you shouldn't hide it. Like, I'm a gamer, I'm an artist, I'm a graphic designer, I'm a goofball, I love puns. According to one of my coworkers, I'm a dad because I wear dad shoes and I say dad jokes. You should never hide who you are, unless you're a serial killer, I guess, because it's not your fault of what and who you are. If someone doesn't like that you play video games, or that you draw, or that you enjoy mountain climbing, screw them. You don't need that negativity in your life. It's funny that this came up as one of the questions. I was actually having this conversation with a couple of coworkers the other day, and how I was telling a story about when I was in college, a girl I was interested in asking out on a date. I basically asked her if she'd like to go out for coffee or something like that, and her literal response, word for word, because I've never forgotten it, she just looked at me and said, "I'm sorry, Jason, I don't like video games." And the deal breaker wasn't that she didn't like video games. I could work around that. It's the fact that she stripped the rest of my existence away and just focused on that. Like, I'm not just video games. Like, I do lots of cool things. I've done kids books. I have a YouTube channel. I go on walks with my fiance. Like, you should never ever feel bad for what you are and what you enjoy, because if someone doesn't like something about you, that's their problem. That's their shortcoming, their insecurity. So, when I got my new job and I left GameStop for my graphic designer job, I didn't hide anything. I walked in the first day, was my goofball stuff, started talking about random things, mentioned I was playing something on PS4, identified the 3 other gamers in the room, and we were fine. And I can have my video game conversations with them, and I can have my coffee talk conversations with my other coworkers, and I can have music conversations with my other coworkers, and you're fine. Like, you should never ever hide who you are. It's what makes you you. And I say that if only because in my childhood, I was a huge video gamer. Like, maybe embarrassingly so, but it's who I was. And if I had hidden the fact that I was a video gamer from people, I would have never gotten all the experiences I had, like working for Game Shark or being in the Guinness Book of World Records or winning the biggest PlayStation fan from Sony, if I had hidden myself like that. So, it doesn't matter if I'm 43, 13, 50, 73. I will be here rocking out on my PlayStation 1 and my Dreamcast and my PlayStation 18 and what have you. Like, I'm proud of who I am, what I am. Like, are there certain things about me I could change? Sure, like biting my nails. But, like, never, ever, ever feel bad or hide who you are. It's what makes you you. like a friend while she was on a date, a friend had mentioned that like she was like, she just wanted the person to like them and about whatever she was doing. I was like, then just be you. That's why we at work love you. Like, it's who you are. Like, don't hide that. Let's see. Anki, I hope I haven't dreamt that there is a Saints Row 5 in the making. If so, I hope it goes back to the older ones because SR4 was not enjoyable, at least for me. I don't know if there is. I kind of fell off. Once I left GameStop, I kind of fell off the whole watching things come out. Like, where was I? I was out somewhere and I didn't know like 5 different games had already come out and been out for 3 months. And it felt so good to not know that. Like, that's how I knew my GameStop days were finally behind me. Anki, I've never hidden my interest in video games, but there were a time when I was almost bad to be an adult playing video games. My motto is and always has been, never too old to play games. You're goddamn right. You're goddamn right. Gonna plant that flag, fucking hashtag the hill I die on. And somewhere one of my coworkers just smiled. Like, what's funny too is like if I were to hide anything, like the only thing I could hide is that even as a 43-year-old male, like, I have an amazing appreciation, and that's the right word to use, of stuffed animals. Like, I love teddy bears. I mean, I don't really buy them for myself, but at my job, besides the personalized gifts we sell, we also own a teddy bear company. And so my desk at work is literally just corner to corner, wall to wall. I think there's probably at least 18 teddy bears on my desk. And I may get strange looks from people, but it's who I am. I love those little bastards. They make my desk look cool, and it's all good. It is what it is. If a bunch of teddy bears on a table makes someone uncomfortable, clearly those people are not comfortable in their own skin. So it is what it is. Oh man, let's see. Next question. Anki, question number 6. Oh no, that was 6. Number 7. Hackers! What to do? How to be safe? Or not safe. What's funny is in the situation that happened with me that month or so ago, God, it's already been a month or two, is I wasn't hit. My provider was hit. So even if I had all the fail safes on my site, the fact that the provider was hit would have negated anything I would have had on there. I will say that after that happened, I did turn, what do you call it? Not double, 2-step notification on for everything I could. So literally my bank account, PayPal, a couple websites here and there. Like, I immediately turned on 2-step verification for everything. It's a pain in the ass, but at least I know that like I'll get the alert if someone's trying to hack into stuff. I haven't tried 2-step with WordPress because the few apps I saw all had comments saying that like it either broke the site or it locked people out of the site. So, it is what it is. I do have an SSL security thing on my site, but it does say on the site it's not secure. It actually is secure. The problem is because it's not a, what's the word I'm looking for here? Not dedicated. Is it dedicated? Because my GameRave name is attached to one company, but my site is with this other company, that like 2-team team up is what's causing it to say that my site isn't secure, but there's no shopping cart on the site, so there's no credit cards being entered, there's no phone numbers being entered, so there's nothing to really worry about anyway. All you can really do is be safe. I mean, for God's sakes, when is it LifeLock? When LifeLock was first introduced into the world, I think like a year afterwards, the actual owner of LifeLock got hacked. So it is what it is. I mean, you can never really be 100% safe. Just make sure you have your backups and make sure you have fail safes in place. So it's all good. Let's see. Kavya, I sometimes worry about some of the older games, especially when like at this one Goodwill, I'm very sure they are throwing out the manuals and inserts of the games and movies. Yeah, that's going to happen. I mean, that's been around since Funkoland. So, if you see something you want, like I've actually told, like people have always asked me in the past, like, well, how much would you pay for this game? How much would you pay for that game? Blah, blah. At this point, if you want it, just buy it. Like, even if you quote unquote overpay, as long as you wanted it, it's not overpaying. There are PlayStation variants that I probably could have gotten cheaper had I waited, but if I had waited, they might not have been there, or they might have disappeared off the face of the earth. So if you see something you want, just get it. Don't wait for a discount. Don't wait for some bragging like, oh my God, they were sleeping at the Goodwill. Like just buy it, just get it out of the way. There's even some demos that are so rare that, like, even if I found like a scratched disc only copy, I would buy it in a heartbeat just to finally have it and archive it. Let's see. Dimension Gamer, I used to know people that could not accept that I do other things besides gaming, so they constantly talk like I know nothing of anything else. Yeah, that's hugely irritating. That's like, I have a fellow human. I'll give them their anonymity. I have a fellow human who is very sending. And when you go up to them and ask them a question, oftentimes just a one-word answer is all you need. They will first cut you down and then not help you by telling you how you can find the answer yourself, when it was just like a one-word answer you were looking for. And that drives me batshit insane. Like, oh my God. Let's see. Anki, as a YouTuber, my biggest fear is that my account will be hacked, since that does happen to others. Easiest way to protect yourself there is don't open any link in any email ever. Most of the, and I do say most of the people famous that got hacked, like, I'm drawing a huge link. There were like 2 or 3 big like drama YouTubers and gaming YouTube streamers that they got their account hacked. They got emails that claimed they were from a advertising company, and once they clicked the link to fill out the form, that's how the hackers got into their account and so forth. If you ever get emails from companies that you deal with, like I almost once a week will get an email from Apple that claims that something on the store is not working correctly. I need to log in, and I know for a fact Apple would never send an email like that. If you ever get an email from like your bank or from like YouTube and so forth, don't click the link. Go to YouTube and log into your user account profile, and if it's there, there'll be a message at the top like that, or like from Amazon or Bank of, like if I use Bank of America, it would be on your actual site email account. So that's pretty much all you can really do. Deadly Sub, welcome to the chat, Deadly Sub. What are your thoughts on fan translations of Japan exclusive PS1 games? Bring them on. Like, as long as they're not being sold. Like, I know there are some people out there that have no scruples and will take someone else's translation, patch it, and then make a shitty little package and sell it on eBay for $35. Bring it on. Like, there are so many great games that never came to America. If the fans themselves can bring it over and they're not stepping on anyone's, copyright and so forth, have at it. One of the first things I want to do with the Polymega is play the patched version of Police Knots. Like, I adore Snatcher. and the fact that that's another game I replayed like 15 times. The fact that Police Notes never came over was a tragedy. There are so many. Pardon me a sec. It's not the Siphon Filter virus. There are so many PS1 games I could think of that I always wanted to check out but couldn't because it was in Japanese. Half of Square's library, Racing Lagoon. There was the Super Famicom game with the dragons in it that I did have a translated ROM of it. I never got to playing it. But Racing Lagoon was one of them. Their baseball game from Japan on the PS1 was really cool that I would have loved to check out. Like our Missing Chocobo Dungeon 1. There was a couple other RPGs that never came over. But seriously, like as long as the fan translations are doing it for the fans, like I have nothing against the translator having like a coffee or a Patreon to support them because, if you're doing all that translation repatching, you deserve some money. Like, that's fine. But just don't go selling the product. You know what I mean? Like, you can sell your translation or get tips for your translation work, but just don't sell other people's property. We got a T virus, we got the C virus, we got the Siphon Filter virus. What else is there? There's some why am I looking around my room? I don't own the links. There's some virus game in the Atari Lynx too. Alma Racing Lagoon. That game was so cool. We actually way back in the day when I was still at the family game store, we used to rent imports, and we actually got we would buy imports from people too. And I remember seeing Racing Lagoon's cover, like, oh, it's gonna be badass. And I remember burning I burned a CDR of it, relax. And I went to go play it, and I had no idea what I was doing. And I was just like, oh, crap, I got to put this away. But yeah, that would be one. I would love to see a fan translation of Internal Section, which I think actually already exists. Actually, you know what? Is it right there? Wait. Yeah, hang on a sec, guys. Where did you go? Ah! Oh no, where'd you go? Here we go. Okay, I was looking for the color red. It's white on the spine. So I would love to see this fan translated if it hasn't been already. I think it has. Internal Section is by Squaresoft. And what this is essentially Vib Ribbon, but with spaceships. So it's kind of like if you took like Tempest and say like Sylphid, combine that, and then you throw in your own music CD, and the music generates the enemy patterns and the level graphics and so forth. It's so cool. My buddy Steve, Papa Stu, if you will, who basically is the reason I collect PlayStation variants, little bastard, got me this for either Christmas or a birthday a while ago, and it is so much fun to play. If I can, actually, that might be a fun thing to do. I might do a import review of that down the road. But it's a really cool game, like I said, just like Vib Ribbon, but with spaceships and so forth. And Cloud121 has beaten Uncharted 2. Congratulations. Good to see that you can keep your train of thought while I'm streaming. Yeah, let's see. What else is there? Like there were so many good games on the Super Famicom and the Mega Drive that never got over to America. Although I think Alien Soldier finally came over on one of the collections. But like, yeah, dude, like there's a cart full of Super Nintendo RPGs that can be fan translated. There's why can't I think of that game name? We had it at the store that we used to rent. It's gonna drive me insane. Yeah, there's actually a lot of like, oh, Tobal number frickin' 2. Get that translated. I'll play the crap. I will give you money for a Tobal 2 fan translation so I can finally play the story mode and stuff of all that. Alma, Rockman Complete Works translation base? Yes, it would. The Rockman games had had the individual releases of the Rock Band games on the Japanese PlayStation 1 had so cool cases and case artwork. If I were more into them, I would have tracked down the import Namco Museum Collection set in Japan, which has the brown like fold-out folder, because it's got the 6th game with the trademark symbol that had a couple of extra releases. I'm so glad I don't collect Japanese games, because I would be fucking out on the streets, poor piss broke, tracking down all the variants and games and such. Why can't I remember the name of that game? Tsukogi by Squaresoft would have been another great one. That was just like an action adventure game that had some amazing music to it. And I really like the character designs. If you get a chance, jump on YouTube and look up, it's Sougaki, I think, Sogagugi, something like that. Just phenomenal music. Caveat, also, you need to check out Wargroove. It's in the same vein as Advance Wars. You have my undying attention. Wait a minute, I think, didn't that just get released by the Limited Run Games? That sounds familiar. I also need to still check it out. I own it, but I still need to play it. There's a Ghost Recon game on the 3DS that's essentially Advance Wars. Advance Wars. I'm going to have to jump into that. I'll have to check that out too. I love Advance Wars. Going back to the sequels, I would love an official Advance Wars sequel again. Like those, we used to play when I was still at GameStop, and this was years ago when the 3DS was still like the old original model. Me, my manager, and 2 of my coworkers used to go over to the Starbucks across the street from our thing after hours, and we would just have 4-man Advance War battles, and it was amazing. It was so much fun. God, I miss those days. Tricklefish? I don't know what Tricklefish is. Dimension Gamer, I'd kindly go really generic with my answer. I'd want everything that doesn't have a translation to get one. Smooth. Yeah, there's no disagreement there. Like, I wish everything could get... I'm glad not everything got released, because this would be insane. Now, to give you guys an idea of Japan, so what you're looking at right there right now is, plus the long boxes. That's 1,284 games plus a whole ton of variants, obviously, as you can see from Ling. Japan without variants was like at 3,000 games. So just to have the base Japanese library, it would literally be this wall doubled. Like that whole wall would be nothing but Japanese PlayStation games. Ain't got no time for that. Tricklefish is the word of... Oh, thank you. Thank you, Dimension Gamer. For a second, I thought you meant Babblefish, and I was like, well, that would help too. But, let's see. Oh, man. But yeah, that does it for all the questions from social media. So I thank Anki and Randall for that. We are coming up on the 2-hour mark already. Jesus Christ. Do you guys have any other topics of conversation, questions, anything you're thinking about? Because if that's it, I think we'll probably close down in a couple minutes. Go enjoy the day. This has been fun. I really need to get back into doing these idle chatters. Like the fact that my internet didn't cut out after a half hour like it did before, I think that's a good sign. I think we might start bringing these back. Oh man, so much good. I got to put these games back. I literally just re-alphabetized the wall last night, A to Z, and I'm pulling games out, not putting them back. I'll have to fix that. Oh man, it is a nice day out today too, and of course, like you can't go out shopping because virus. JCW, Jason, would you say that 2000 was the last big year for the PlayStation? I know 2001 had a fair bit of releases, but I feel like 2000 is the PS1's last hurrah. That's actually a great question, and it's actually been one I've been tackling while doing the Living History project right now, because obviously we're in the year 2000. Yes and no. Like when I do the top 10 games of 2000, this will be another wonderful thing. I wouldn't say it was the last hurrah, but it was definitely the last. How would I explain this? It would be like the last big fling, if you will. Like the best way to describe the year 2000 for the PlayStation is the meme with the guy and the two girls, where the gamer is the guy and the PlayStation 1 is here, and then the PlayStation 2 is the girl he's looking at. Because even with the PlayStation 2 still being released in 2000, because it supported the PlayStation 1 there, companies had no reason to jump to the PlayStation 2 right away. Like some of the best games on the PlayStation didn't come out until after the PS2 was announced, like the shooter Sandvine, and 2 Degree Racing, and I'm completely blanking on that game now. But it was like even Tony Hawk 4, which was still really good on the system. I mean, granted, you could play that on the, I think the PS2. Did it come on PS2? But I would say 2000 was probably the last mainstream year for the PlayStation. But I'd go so far as saying that 2001 / into the 2002, that's where you saw the final, like, most people not caring, especially based on the release list, because that's when you could see that developers and publishers were realizing that people were giving their game systems to their younger kids as hand-me-downs, because that's when the majority of kids games on the PlayStation, like a whole shit ton of them, didn't come out until 2001, 2002. So that's when I would say that Tide was finally, coming in for the original PlayStation. It did hang in there though pretty well. That's a great question though. Oh, you're welcome, Coffee Bean. Caveat, it's been fun. I'll try to think of some other stuff to go over and pay for the. I'm curious what RP are playing, even though I'm in the middle of collecting them. Yeah. You know what? A friend of mine online actually is nearing the 1,000 game mark for PlayStation 4, and I give him all the props in the world because I couldn't do it. Our ending conversation for the day. And I've brought this up before in our Idle Chatters, is I was going to go for a full non-variant PS2 set. And once I realized there were like 34 hockey games, I was like, I'm good. I'm good. With the PlayStation 3 and the 360 and the PS4 and the Xbox One, like I could see doing a full set non-variant, but like when you realize how many of those games are going to be just screensavers, like PS3, like Warhawk and eventually DC Online, and that's SOCOM. So actually, SOCOM is another one. Those servers are all dead. So like, you're just sitting there with a platter, can't do anything. At least with the older games in their systems, like all the games are still 100% active and playing. So might mean more power to them. All right, guys, it has been absolutely fun. I'm going to go hang out with the missus. I'm going to put these games back on the wall so I don't destroy my alphabetization. I will probably have the next episode of GameRaveTV done this week. It will be the Soul of Samurai review. Other than that, have a great day, you guys. Have a good weekend. Be safe, literally, and enjoy games. I will see you guys later. Have a great one, guys. Take care.